Greetings, it is I, Tentus Naravan Dracovin, Lord and Emperor of the Dracovin Empire, and welcome. It is time to continue our discussion on Vampire, the Eternal Struggle. We've been talking about the forgotten collectible card games of old, ones that have pretty much died out. And we started with this one, the third collectible card game in existence, that is based upon the Vampire the Masquerade role-playing game and the World of Darkness. Let's continue with the rules, because we were diving into them. Let's talk about what you need to do to finish up your setup. We've talked about your counters. Let's talk about your play space. Your play is going to be divided into two sections. Your uncontrolled region, which at the start of the game you're going to have 4 minion cards in, and your controlled region, which is going to start empty. This controlled region is going to be further divided between the readied vampires and the vampires in Torpor. Torpor represents when a vampire is damaged or injured or somehow incapacitated. Now I have my regions. I take my cards, I separate my crypt cards from my library cards. I shuffle both of these piles. I let my predator cut both of these, and then I can begin. I draw 7 cards from my library. I draw the 4 minions from my crypt card to put in my uncontrolled zone, face down. During the course of the game, vampires will move from my uncontrolled region to my controlled, where they will flip up. Of course, there will be points in time during the game where I will be able to put more minions from my crypt into my uncontrolled region, but we're going to talk about that in the future. But for now, let's dive into the order of play that you're going to have, because effectively, you're going to move clockwise around the board, where each player is going to take a turn. Each of their turns is divided into 5 phases. There's an untap phase. There's a master phase, then a minion phase, then an influence phase, then your discard phase. Let's dive into the untap phase that you're going to take. So your untap phase is exactly what it sounds like. You're going to untap all of your cards that are tapped. There are some exceptions to this, of course. Infernal cards, for example, don't just untap right away. Now, if there's any kind of card that has an effect or anything else that's having an effect that occurs on you during your untap phase, it happens now. You get to choose the order of operations of them. So every effect that's hitting you during your untap, you get to choose the order that they affect you. Maybe you want to get those negative ones out of the way first, or maybe the positive ones out of the way first. Completely up to you. If you control the edge, you get to take 1 blood point from the blood bank and add it to your pool. So the edge also gives you a bonus during this point in time. Also, if you are contesting any unique cards or titles, you'd contest them now. Let's talk about contesting, with contesting cards first. So, within your library, there are locations, items, and people that are called unique. Also, every card in your crypt is considered unique. The thing about 2 unique cards is they can occur in play under different players. Each of us could play a unique card, and then it's contested. So if I have my unique minion out, my opponent has their unique minion out, or whatever combination of whatever it is, they're contested. So, once we've started a contest, each of us will flip over our unique card face down. They are out of play for now. If someone else should draw and play that same unique card that's already contested, guess what? It joins the contest. It gets flipped over and joins in with the contest. During your untap, as soon as you get to this point in time, you have to choose whether you're going to continue to contest this card or yield it. If I choose to continue to contest it, I have to give up a point of blood from my pool and put it into the bank, and that's saying I'm contesting it. If I don't want to do that, I yield. This card goes to the ash heap. It gets burned. If there's any counters or other cards that were attached to said card, they also get burned. Once there is one last card left, then the contest is over. Basically, when all other contesting cards go away, then when that player who has that last card at their next untap, they can flip that card back over, untap it, get it ready to go. It's ready to be played. They've basically won the contest. Now, because it is unique, you have to worry about contesting yourself, because you technically can't. You can't contest yourself. If something should force an extra copy, or force you effectively to contest with yourself, the incoming copy of whatever it is gets burned right away. So you never contest yourself, even if you have multiple copies. Though this isn't to say you might not want multiple copies of a minion. If one of those copies gets burned, maybe I want another one of that minion in my crypt deck that I'm ready to play again. So there is a good reason to have multiple copies of a minion. It's just, or another card in case it gets burned. It's just that you can't play them at the same time. It's taking up space in your hand, or taking up the space in your uncontrolled zone. It fills up space when you're not able to use it. Advantages and disadvantages. Now, on the other hand, there's contested titles. Within the universe that we're basically playing out, there can only be one prince, one archbishop. These are specialized titles to groups of vampires that exist within this setting that we're playing within. I'll talk a little bit more about those settings and stuff, but there can only be one of any of these titles. If multiple titles come out in play, if basically I play a prince and my opponent plays a prince, those titles become contested. All this means is the titles do not count for anything. They are ignored. Card is treated normally. It can be played as normal, it can attack and defend as normal, it can do everything else normally except anything related to that title is not in effect. Now, my minion can control that title during my untap. I would have to choose to remove a blood from this minion in order to contest it. I can also choose to yield. Minion then would be losing the title. If the minion cannot give blood, they also yield. If the minion is in torpor when you're hitting that untap step, it also yields automatically. So you can see you have to leave it untapped, not in torpor, have enough blood. There you go. You can contest the title. I can keep paying, or if I stop paying, I yield. I give up the title. If you give up a title, effectively you treat that card as if it doesn't have that title. It's as simple as that. Other than that, then the other card, whatever's left over in this contest, gets to use that title finally. They won the contest. They're the prince. They're the archbishop. They're whatever the title is. They have it. It's important. It's theirs. They won it all. Theirs counts. Everyone else's does not. At that next untap step, from the time that the contest ended, that's when the title effectively can be used. So, that's it for today. I finished talking about the setup, establishing your basically 2 zones / 3 zones, the uncontrolled and controlled, which is further divided up. I talked about getting your decks ready. I talked about drawing your cards, and then I talked about the phases that each player is going to go through clockwise, going around the board. I dived deeper into your untap step, in which you not only untap your cards, but you can do things like possibly getting extra blood if you have edge, or contest cards. Get other special effects that might be activated during this time period from different cards or minions. And of course, I talked about contesting. Contesting cards where you have to give up blood to keep a card under control until one of the players that's contesting it, or all the other players that are contesting it, give up and yield. Then the winner gets to use that card actually. It's out of play until then. Or contesting titles, which matter for certain cards. Maybe you need a prince card and you're trying to play with your prince. Your prince wins that title. You can use that card. If you yield, you're out of luck at that point in time. The other person has a prince card. You can see that there is contesting between the unique natures of titles and characters and places that will occur. Battles for control that only one can win. In the next episode, I'm going to dive into the master phase and what's going to occur during then, and start talking about the minion phase, because it's a big one to talk about. We're going to be talking about it for at least an episode. So, if you have any questions, comments, anything you would say, anything you think I left out, please leave in the comments below. Please like, share, and subscribe. It shows your support of the channel, the empire, the work I do. If you do want to show some extra support, you could always check out my Patreon, link to the description below. But regardless, until the next time, I bid you farewell.